Now, the eyes tell us a lot of information about what the brain is processing, how it's assessing the world around us. And some of the information I'm about to share with you is very little known outside of scientific research. For instance, when we like something, our pupils dilate. If we see something pretty, our pupils naturally dilate to absorb more light and to sort of take it more in. But when we don't like something, our pupils constrict. They even constrict when we see someone we don't like, or we see a picture of something we don't like. The pupils constrict. There's an evolutionary reason for this, and that has to do with survival, that when we see something that could hurt us, by constricting the pupils, we have more perfect vision. All photographers know this with aperture settings and so forth. And the same thing happens in poker. You could look at your hole cards and you may see something there that you don't like, and so your pupils may suddenly tighten up. But even beyond that, our eyes do all sorts of things to demonstrate or communicate how we feel about something. And you definitely see this when you greet somebody and you say hi. And the next time you meet somebody else, you go, hi, and you see the arching of the eyes. Well, the opening of the eyebrows, or the arching of the eyes, is sort of flashbulb eyes. This widening of these orbits is indicative of something very positive. And this often gets poker players in trouble because they look at their hole cards and they realize they have a monster hand, and all of a sudden you see them arch their eyebrows. And this gives away that they're very strong. Even though they're wearing sunglasses, it can still be seen. The other thing that we can see from the eyes often is squinting. When we don't like something, we tend to squint. If you remember the old Clint Eastwood westerns, when he was ready to shoot somebody, he always sort of squinted, and everybody seemed to squint. And we do this naturally. And in fact, this little area right below the eyes, the minute we sense something we don't like, it begins to vibrate or to encroach on the eye itself, so that there's a very minuscule sort of blocking of the eyes, of diminishing the size of the eye. And this, of course, is to protect us. The other thing that we do with the eyes, you'll often see it with people when they interact. Someone will say, hey, can you help me move this weekend? And they cover their eyes as they're processing the information. Now, they may help out, but this blocking behavior, this movement of the hands to the eyes, is really saying, ooh, you know what? I really didn't like hearing that question. Now, this is a very accurate tell. We know it's extremely accurate because we actually see it with children who have been born blind. When they hear things they don't like, they'll actually put their hand over their eyes, even though they can't see. So we know this is accurate. We know it's millions of years old. And we know that we can rely on this behavior. Another one you'll see with the eyes is the person will look down at his hole cards, and then it takes them a long time to open up the eyelids. Very accurate, very indicative that there's something negative there. Because when it's positive, we immediately want to see it and look at it and spend time on it. When we don't, it's reflective of that. The other behavior we'll see with the eyes is that they tend to flutter. The eyelids flutter when we struggle with things or we have difficulty. So a lot of times when we're frustrated with the board, we're frustrated with the cards that we've been given, or something's going on at the table, you'll see a fluttering of the eyelids. The other thing we know about the eyes is that when we're very comfortable, our eye blink rate goes down. But when there's stress, the eye blink rate goes up. Now, the average is somewhere between 8 and 12 a minute, blinks per minute. But I've seen people whose eye blink rate will go up to 80, 90 times a minute when they're under extreme stress. So, does that mean they're bluffing? Does that mean they're lying? No. But you can know this: if you see a high blink rate, then we know that the person is under stress. Now, we've talked about confidence and lack of confidence and so forth. And so obviously when we're confident, we tend to have less eye activity. We tend to have a lower eye blink rate. We tend to see less eye blocking and so forth. So look for these behaviors. They're associated with the eyes to tell us how the person feels. When they're confident, they tend to be very open, very wide. When people lack confidence, when there's an issue or there's a problem, we tend to squint. And of course, one of the other things that we look for is, where is the person looking? If the person is looking at their chips right after the flop comes out, that's usually a pretty good clue that they're going to be doing something with the chips. And we shouldn't ignore tells of this sort. So there's a lot of information there with the eyes, but we have to put it in context. We have to look at what's going on on the board. We have to look at what's their reaction to other people and say, what is it that caused this behavior? Did something happen on the board that the person immediately covered their eyes? And you usually see this, for instance, on the turn or the river. All of a sudden, somebody that was strong, they're covering their eyes. Now they sense they're weak. So take a look at the eyes, compare it against other parts of the body, and use that to form a more perfect picture of this individual's poker tells.